Everything must go. Everything will be sold to the bare walls. The Broadway gallery is also closing. Our doors will be forced to close. All bronzes, marbles, paintings must be liquidated.
June 19th, 2024. Thousands of car dealerships, big names, small town lots, wake up to find their entire dealership management system dead.
Finance offices can't run credit checks. Service bays can't see work orders. Gosh, they'd be even further behind than normal. Sales teams are stuck with words and sticky notes.
This isn't just a bad IT day. This is a ransomware hit on CDK Global, the platform running the heartbeat of the auto retail industry.
And this is True Cybercrimes, where we dissect the hacks and breaches that bring industries to their knees. I'm Nick Santilli.
And I'm Chris Kuselis. Today we unpacked how one cyber attack rippled across the entire auto dealership ecosystem and why the lessons go far beyond the showroom floor.
If you've ever bought a car at a dealership in the US or Canada, odds are CDK Global touched that transaction in some way.
They provide dealer management system software, or DMS, to nearly 15,000 dealerships.
DMS is essentially the ERP of the auto world. It ties together sales, service, parts, inventory, customer relationship management, payroll, and even OEM reporting. It's the glue. Without it, dealerships can't run smoothly, if at all. So, in plain English, imagine a single central brain for the dealership. Services write up your repair order there, sales logs the car you test drove, finance pushes your credit application through it, parts, orders, payroll, it's all in that single brain.
And it ties it to all those annoying phone calls you get after you test drive, because we just bought a car and we got a lot of annoying phone calls. But anyway, I digress. So this means if that brain gets locked up, the body stops functioning.
Exactly. This is where the risk comes in. CDK is a centralized third-party provider. When they go down, they don't just take out one business, they take out thousands simultaneously. It's kind of the, in one of the other conversations we had, talked a little bit about the risk of a monopoly, right? You've got 15,000 dealerships using this. That one, that's the linchpin. Anyway, an interesting challenge that these industries face.
Yeah, so third-party risk concentration. So you just kind of touched on it. It gives a single point of failure. One breach at the provider equals massive multi-client outages. And they've got the shared infrastructure risks. Attackers know what they're doing here. The attack exploits the fact that a compromise scales instantly across those 15,000 customers. So they can pour all their energy into going after one dealership, or they can pour all their energy into going after the one company that manages 15,000 dealerships. So it's just so important to do your vetting with your vendors. Businesses must assess not just their own security, but the vendor's capabilities and a contingency plan if they do go down.
Third-party risk.
Yeah. So the breach hits June 19th, 2024. CDK detects a cyber intrusion and takes the systems offline.
The attackers, well, they're believed to be Black Suit ransomware group, suspected to operate out of Eastern Europe with ties to Conti and Royal. They specialize in double extortion, encrypt the data, and also threaten to leak it unless they're paid.
So the initial ransom demands reportedly started in the $10 million range, but quickly escalated north of $50 million. And I wonder if it's because they realized who they got. I bet that's how it all came together.
Yeah, it in kind of an odd way, it sort of illustrates, I think oftentimes these hackers are just looking for an easy way in, and then they kind of figure out what they're going to do after the fact. Who is this? Oh, do they have money? What more should we be asking for doing here?
So they didn't necessarily concentrate all their efforts on a global service provider. They just got access, got credentials, and then they realized what they'd done.
Maybe, yeah. I wonder how often it's just a low-hanging fruit versus a very targeted, hey, we want to go after this.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, let's talk about how a ransomware group like Black Suit typically pulls this sort of attack off. First, they will frequently gain access through stolen or phished credentials, remote desktop exposure, or vulnerable VPN connections. Then they move laterally, mapping the environment, learning about what access they have, data, etc., and escalating privileges where possible. They target the core systems like file servers, databases. In the case of CDK Global, the dealership management applications, which were really the crown jewels. And then before encrypting all of that, they exfiltrate the data or download a copy of it so that they can do the leak portion of the double extortion, potentially doubling their payday here.
Sure. So this wasn't just a smash and grab. They were in it for the long enough to position themselves for maximum disruption.
And the kicker, the timing is strategic. They hit during peak summer sales season, so I guess that kind of answers that question, right?
They knew what
They
they were
timed
doing.
this. They knew what they were going after, and because of this peak season, dealerships were already stretched thin, which of course magnified the pressure to pay. Um, you know, Ransomware, especially timing matters. It's incredibly critical because you'll find attackers often launching just before major financial closes, busy seasons, or holidays. They'll do it early in the morning or late in the evening. And the higher the operational pain, the more leverage they can, obviously negotiate the ransom.
Once again, they've got a pretty vetted business model.
Yeah.
And for dealerships, the outage was instant. No inventory lookups, no credit applications, no service histories.
Some groups could limp along with manual workarounds, paper forms, phone calls, out to the banks that they work with. But every extra step burned time, and time is money.
And it wasn't just sales. Parts departments couldn't check availability or pricing. Service space sat idle, waiting for approval. So they're losing money because they're not selling anything, but they're also paying out all of their employees that are sitting idly by or sending them home.
Yeah, and we talk about reputational damage, especially you think of an industry more despised than like auto manufacturer or maintenance, dealership
Yeah.
maintenance, right? I hate going to the dealer to get work done on my car, and can you imagine being told, oh no, we've got to have it for longer because we don't know when we can get that part now. It's like, what
Yeah.
do you mean? That would drive me up the wall, and probably cause me to look for a new place to go, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, let's quantify all this. Analysts estimated the losses of $605 million in the first 2 weeks. Some projections push this upwards of $1 billion, and that's just the direct impact. The ripple effect hit automakers, lenders, and even insurers, and like we just talked about, reputational damage and other costs to the business that couldn't be immediately foreseen. The domino effect. You've got your primary vendor that goes down. CDK Global as the DMS has this outage. Then you have dependent services that fail, credit, parts ordering, OEM warranty processing. That's a major piece of this supply chain, if you will. Then you've got the customer impact, right? Delaying their purchases, delaying their services, missing out on crucial revenue to these auto dealers and businesses. And again, reputational damage, so loss of customer trust, frustration. A lot will shop elsewhere next time, and I have to say I'd probably end up in that category, just given past experiences.
For sure. I would and have.
Yeah.
And this is where the resilience planning shows, or it fails. Many dealers had zero viable offline processes ready. It was just, oh no, we can't do anything. And CDK reportedly paid $25 million in Bitcoin on June 21st to begin restoration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was beginning restoration. It wasn't over. During recovery, they suffered a second intrusion, which is pretty typical, forcing them to reshut some systems and reassess their process.
Yeah, they got their $25 million and they said, I wonder how much more we can get. So
Yeah.
phased recovery started June 23rd, with most dealers restored by July 4th. But even back online didn't mean business as usual. Data reconciliation, delayed payroll. How upset are you when you don't get your paycheck? And
Yeah.
customer follow-ups dragged on for weeks.
So this double hit scenario, and this isn't even the leak of the data, right? This is just another
Yeah.
hit, which is kind of a wild twist in this this story. But this double hit scenario is really important. The attackers will sometimes leave behind secondary access points, back doors. So if cleanup isn't thorough as systems are restored, they may remain vulnerable to a second wave. And something I talk about with my clients frequently is, when you what was it, 25 million in Bitcoin, these systems were no more secure after spending that
No.
25 million than they were the day before all this happened, right? So now they're out 25 million, and now they have to look at ways to thoroughly test and validate and remediate any additional things. And these guys were just kicking them when they were down. They were barely cleaned up, and they're like, all right, we got more back doors, let's go hit them again.
Let's do it again. Yeah.
Wild stuff. There's no honor amongst thieves.
No.
Crazy. So some essentials that you have to remember as you're recovering that kind of post-breach containment. One, full environment scan. Identify persistence mechanisms, scheduled tasks, rogue accounts, malicious services. Have a pen test. It may seem superfluous right after a breach, but have a pen test and make sure there aren't other gaps that you're completely blind to. Credential reset blitz. Every system, every account. I know it's painful. I know, users of systems hate having everything reset and having to pick new passwords and all that, but especially after a breach and those credentials.
If you were to ask those people who are complaining about the credential reset, what is more, of a pain, credential reset or what just happened to us?
Yeah.
Pick your poison.
Sometimes you have to remind them, like, did you enjoy the last 2 weeks?
Yeah.
No? Great. Reset your password and just
move on.
The threat hunting, looking for indicators of compromise or IOCs in IT and OT systems if they exist in your environment. And as we've talked about previously, the segmentation. When you recover, you want to restore and isolate environments to avoid reinfection. Not just bring everything online at once, because if you miss something, then it respreads and you're back to square one.
And there were really broader implications for the industry on this. Dealers weren't just battling downtime; they were targeted by secondary phishing attacks. More criminals out there. They posed as CDK support. Calling and emailing employees, "Hey, can you verify your credentials?" During all the chaos, and many people did. They gave them their credentials because, hey, well, these guys are calling to help me. No, they're not.
Yeah. And so that chaos, that pressure, that the stress, those are all the tools that are used by attackers, and unfortunately, as humans, we fall prey to that more often than not. Classic crisis opportunism. Attackers just they love piggybacking on that major event because it lowers skepticism when you have that urgency. Let's talk about kind of the crisis time, the social engineering. Let's dig into that a little bit more. Rapid, consistent communication from leadership cuts down on rogue info. You really want to control that narrative, and that comes from business continuity plan, incident response plan, having those things in place and well-oiled and kept current is really critical to cut down on social engineering attacks in the middle of chaos. Hey, I think everybody get their drinks ready, because even if credentials are stolen, what else do we want to help protect those credentials?
MFA.
MFA. It still helps block most of those unauthorized logins, and while it's not 100% foolproof, it's much better than the alternative. And incident simulations, you've got an incident response plan. You need to train it. You need to test it. Put your staff through some of those. Simulate some of these outages, phishing attacks, spikes during major outages that people should be looking out for. Make sure they're expecting that kind of thing and know how to handle it, even when the pressure's on.
And if they say you don't have time for the incident simulation and training the staff, then you're really not going to have time when it really happens. So,
Oh, for sure, yeah.
The legal fallout: multiple class action lawsuits against CDK citing negligence in security practices and inadequate contingency planning.
And the strategic point here is vendor agreements need to have teeth. Contracts should really spell out breach response obligations, recovery SLAs, and financial liability for outages. I mean, it goes back to the third party risk. You need to know how you're going to hold that partnership accountable and protect yourself. Because in this case, it wasn't just a dealership problem. This whole event was a blueprint for what happens in any industry when they outsource a critical function to a single vendor.
And this is a universal lesson. So you map your vendor dependencies, build contingency playbooks for critical third-party outages, test them like you test fire drills, push vendors for transparency and resilience.
And remember, security isn't just protecting data, it's protecting your operations, the livelihoods of your employees, and customer trust. And those are in no specific order there.
Yeah, they're all extremely important. And that's it for this episode of True Cyber Crimes.
Yeah, because in the digital world,
every bite leaves a fingerprint. Nick,
yes,
thanks.
Thanks, Chris. Good
talk to you next time.
All right, bye.
The Broadway gallery is also closing. Our doors will be forced to close. All bronzes, marbles, paintings must be liquidated. Chandeliers, crystal, fine Dresden porcelain, hand-woven oriental rugs, jade, ivory, crystal. We pack and ship worldwide, fully insured. Australia, Japan, China, London, Switzerland, Spain, Argentina, Brazil. If the country exists, we ship there. Come in, take a look around, take advantage of the opportunity before we close our doors. Please be our guest. Thank you very much. We're going out of business. We're going out of business. We're going out of business. Going, gone. Going out of business. We're going out of business. We're going out of business. Back to the walls. Everything must go. We have to go. Everything must go. We have to go. Going. We're going out of business. Our final days are here. After 20 years, our doors will close. Everything must go. No reasonable offers will be refused. We have to sell it all. Showcases, light bulbs,